So we're doing exercise 10C, and in this video, I'll be answering question 2, which is asking us to evaluate these questions. And we also have to compare your answers for parts A and B and for parts C and D. So let's begin by evaluating these. So let me zoom in here and let's deal with the first one, which is 5 combination 3. So we know that the other way I can write this is 5, 3. So both of those are legitimate ways of representing the same thing. And we know that that means 5 factorial over 3 factorial, then 5 minus 3 factorial, 5 minus 3 factorial. So then I could rewrite this yet again as 5 factorial over 3 factorial, and then 5 minus 3, that's 2 factorial. Then I am going to write this out again. 5 factorial is 5 times 4 times 3 times 2 times 1. And 3 factorial is 3 times 2 times 1. 2 factorial is 2 times 1. Now I'm going to cancel. So I have 3 times 2 times 1. I have 3 times 2 times 1. So that means I'm left with 5 times 4 over 2 times 1. Therefore, I'm going to have 5 times 4 is 20, and 2 times 1 is 2, and that is going to be equal to 10. Let me get my highlighter and highlight that. That is my answer for A. Let's come down and deal with the next question now, which is 5 combinations of 2. So here I have 5 and 2. That's going to be 5 factorial over 2 factorial, then 5 minus 2 factorial, which is going to be equal to 5 factorial over 2 factorial. 5 minus 2 is 3 factorial. And hopefully you can see that this right here, let me get my highlighter out. Let's do it in green. This right here is the same as this right here. So my answers are going to be the same, and that's why they're asking us to compare your answers for parts A and B, and later for C and D as well. So as you can see, I'm getting the same thing. The order is just reversed down here. So this is going to be 5 times 4 times 3 times 2 times 1 over 2 times 1 times 3 times 2 times 1. I then can cancel that with that, and I'm going to be left with 5 times 4 over 2 times 1, which is 20 over 2, which is the same as 10. So they give me my highlighter. That is my answer to B, and as you can see, the answers to A and B are the same. So that means, let me zoom right out here for a second. That means that if I have 5 objects and I'm trying to arrange them into groups of the size of 3, I'm going to get the same amount as if I have 5 objects arranging them into groups of 2. And that's because of right here, what we talked about before. Let's now go on to C. So C is this, 7C4. We know that we could represent that as 7 and 4. Let me do that. And then that means 7 factorial over 4 factorial, then 7 minus 4 factorial, which is 7 factorial over 4 factorial. 7 minus 4 is 3 factorial, which is going to be 7 times 6 times 5 times 4 times 3 times 2 times 1 over 4 factorial, 4 times 3 times 2 times 1, then 3 factorial times 3 times 2 times 1. Then I can cancel out this and this. Let me do those lines a bit better. So I can cancel out this with this, which means I'm going to be left with 7 times 6 times 5 over 3 times 2 times 1. Let me come over here. So this is going to be 3 times 2 is 6, times 1 is 6. And then I'm going to go 6 5s are 30. 30 times 7 is 210. So now we have to ask ourselves a question, how many times does 6 go into 210? It's going to go in 3 times with 3 left over, so 35 times. Let me give that a highlight. There was some quick maths right there. So that is my answer to C. So this is 10. Perfect. Let's now go on to this one. This can be represented as 7 3. I wonder how many people are watching this video. I'm pretty sure everyone can do this by now. 7 factorial over 3 factorial. Then 7 minus 3 factorial is going to be equal to 7 factorial over 3 factorial. 7 minus 3 is 4 factorial. And as you can see, if I get my highlighter out, this is the same as this. So obviously I'm going to get the same answer. Let me now come over here. This is going to be 7 times 6 times 5 times 4 times 3 times 2 times 1 over, let me see if I can do that straighter, like that. Now 3 factorial is 3 times 2 times 1. 4 factorial is 4 times 3 times 2 times 1, which means I'm going to get rid of that. I'm going to get rid of that. Then I'm going to be left with 7 times 6 times 5, 7 times 6 times 5, and 3 times 2 times 1, 3 times 2 times 1. 3 times 2 times 1 is 6. 6 5s are 30. 30 times 7 is 210. And 6 goes into 210 35 times. So those are your answers to question 2 of exercise 10C. Hopefully this was helpful. It's so satisfying to look back and see how neat and tidy it all is. And there are your answers, 10, 10, and 35, 35. Hopefully this was helpful.